Yes, good evening from Nairobi, Kenya, wherever you're watching. This is Africa 24 Political Talk, and I welcome you wherever you're following this conversation. I can see we have a lot of people following this conversation, almost 50 Kenyans following this conversation. I know you are following us either in YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So I welcome you for this today's conversation because we're going to discuss some of the top stories here. And we're going to get to know what is happening in terms of politics in this country. And today, that is for those who are following in East Africa, that is Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. We have only few hours before the swearing in of the new deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. I know Mzalendo and those who are following in the abroad, they are still wondering what is happening. And today, that is on Friday, we are having a public holiday after the acting president. The president is out of the country. So, the acting president, and of course, not the acting president. This is that is Musalia Mudavadi who said that we are having a holiday today because we are swearing in the new deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, and not any other. This is Kithure Kindiki. Kithure Kindiki. This is he was the CS cabinet secretary for the interior security of the Republic of Kenya, and now he was nominated to become the deputy president after the impeachment motion was tabled, and now there is no Rigathi Gachagua as the deputy president. Kithure Kindiki will be sworn in and he will assume office immediately. The questions that we are asking here as Africa 24 family, where is Rigathi Gachagua heading to? And of course, we have a lot of things that we're going to discuss here in the comment section. There, you can join us and tell us where you're following the conversation and what do you think is going to happen in this country in terms of politics. We have political tension in this country, and you know that we don't now we are having the next DP to be sworn in. You know, there is always a curse when it comes to this deputy president. You saw during Moi's era and also during Kenyatta era, a lot of vice president by then did not finish their term. This is Rigathi Gachagua was been impeached by the motion that was tabled, and now we are going to get Kithure Kindiki as the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya in the next 4-5 hours in this country. I'm not alone here. I have Kevin Wesonga here, one of our political analysts, and of course, I want to give him opening remarks so that he can tell us what is happening, and of course, he give us the idea on what will happen to the right honorable former deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, Rigathi Gachagua. Kevin, you can give us your opening remarks if you can hear me. So if you are following the conversation, then you can join us and tell us where you think. What do you think is going to happen for Rigathi Gachagua? Of course, you know he is there and he has been impeached. You heard his wife, that is Dorcas Rigathi, saying that this is a seat that was sworn in the through church and altars. So in order to impeach Gachagua, then you have to go through the altar. But now you have even seen that things are happening this way. Gachagua is no more. He is not the deputy president after what happened. He has been impeached. You have seen even in the Tharaka-Nithi counties, whereby people are celebrating, have been following what is happening. They are celebrating, of course, because of this impeachment motion of Gachagua. And that was a blow after the court, those judges, they said that they gave away for the swearing in of Kithure Kindiki. Do you think that Kithure Kindiki will be perfect match to serve this country, Kenya. It has been a curse in this country, whereby since during the time of Moi, during the time of Kenyatta, Josephat Karanja, the likes of George Saitoti, they have been there as the vice president by then, before we got the new constitution that gave us deputy president. It has been there. But now, Gachagua has only served for 2 years, and after all, he has been impeached. Where is Gachagua heading to? That is the question that we are asking here in Afrique 24. And don't forget to always like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel wherever you're following this conversation. And we are going to have a wonderful talk here. Guy Peter is saying that I'm following live from Makerere University, Uganda. Welcome. And if you're following from Uganda, I'm going to share the link through the comment section there. You can join us and share your ideas. Where do you think the former DP of the Republic of Kenya, Rigathi Gachagua, is heading to? So you can join us through the link that I've shared there. I'm not alone here. I have seen the face of Mzalendo. Mzalendo, welcome to our today's show. And of course, you give us your opening remarks about what is happening. Where do you think is going to happen when it comes to Rigathi Gachagua? Is he going back to Nyeri? Is he going to still remain in politics? Is he going to join other leaders? Or what do you think is going to happen? And of course, to today, that is those who are following in East Africa, we are almost 26 minutes past, as 26 minutes past, that is 26 minutes past midnight. So in the next few hours at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, we are going to have the swearing in of Kithure Kindiki. Immediately, he has been, that is Musalia Mudavadi, he will be the acting CS for the interior. This means that CS for interior now is Musalia Mudavadi. He is the prime cabinet secretary. Zalendo.
Yeah, how are you? How are you, Bonnie? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Zalendo.
Thank you very much. I would like, want to say hi to Kevin and to the gentleman who has just stepped in. Don't trust. Don't trust. Anyway, for me, it's a sad day. I'm not seeing anything good coming out of the swearing in of one Kidura Kindiki. This is somebody who has butchered so many Kenyans, so many youths are dead, courtesy of him. He was in the security docket. It is very, very, very sad. I mean, we have become a banana republic where right now, as we speak, one of the activists is missing. One Maverick Aoko is missing. Nobody knows whereabouts. He was kidnapped by the rogue policemen and trigger happy cops who are under Kithura Kindiki. We are going to usher in a killer machine as the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, and that is very, very, very sad. We cannot tolerate this to happen in a democracy like Kenya. We've come a long way. We cannot agree to allow this to happen in our country. We love Kenya so much. We love Kenya so much. Some of these things, when we tolerate them, and the political class, remember, this is a country where we don't have anything called any house, be it in the Senate, be it in Parliament, opposing the government of the day. So it is we, the people, who chose this government. It is we, the people, who have to come out and condemn whatever is happening in government today. I said earlier before that the former Vice President Gachagua, he didn't represent that office in a proper manner. But having said that, he needed to have had his time in Senate and had his time in court. Uh, fairly. So even if somebody is convicted or is found guilty, they have to appear to in court so that they can defend themselves fairly, but not a court that is already selected under a charge that is already predetermined. You saw what the lawyers argued out in court, and if you are fair enough and not looking at tribalism the way so many Kenyans out there look at their tribal inclination, then this was not a fair hearing at all. He should have gotten a due process, and he should have been handled fairly. So that is my take on this whole issue. This is something that should have been handled properly. It was not handled properly, unless somebody else can tell me otherwise. Gashagua's issues was not handled professionally and in a manner that can convince the whole Republic of Kenya that this man was justifiably uh, kicked out. So that is my take on the issue. But I want to remind everybody out there that we have still more than 40 youths missing from the previous demonstration, and their bodies cannot be accounted for. That is the country that we are in. And tomorrow there is another bogus holiday to usher in the deputy president. Why do you have to have a holiday to usher in the deputy president? People should go to work as normal. What is so big about the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya? These are useless holidays that drain the economy. Why are people going to relax at home while they should be building the country? So that is my take.
Thank you so much, Mzalendo. Mzalendo, of course, is saying that why should 50 million Kenyans should be stopped not going to work because of just swearing in of one personnel. But I think if the government has already gazetted that notice, then you ought to adhere to it. So, Mzalendo, I think you are going to adhere to it. I have a few guests here in our studio, and of course, I want to give Ampri Opetu this chance so that he can give us his opening remarks and what he thinks about the welfare of Gachagua after the impeachment motion. Now he is the former DP. What do you have to take?
Boni.
Yeah.
Boni and Mzalendo, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay, I just joined on the way. Okay, now on the aspect of the political landscape that is happening at the moment, to me is an issue because it is ill-timed. If you look at the way things have been unfolding, unfortunately, has not been good. According to me, Gachagua has not been given or accorded that respect, and also the due hearing. You know, okay, some say that during the Senate impeachment, he faked that he is sick. When such a thing, even to me, when it happens, it can shake me and develop some sickness. You can shiver also, you know, you are a human being. So to me, I totally condemn what happened. Personally, I condemn. Number one, let me hope that the impeachment of Gachagua will lower the cost of living, if indeed it was the priority. Let me also believe that the impeachment of Gachagua will revert the chief or the shaft back to NHIF. Let me also believe that the impeachment of Gachagua will make people to have, especially farmers and the mamambogas, to have money in the pocket. For me, I truly stand with the Gachagua. Not that I voted for the Kenya Kwanza. I was in Azimia. We have been here for long. But what happened to Gachagua? It is a misplaced or misadvised to the president. Even if they had an issue, I'll draw back to Ruto's time and Uhuru. They had a lot of issues, but at no point did Uhuru threaten, not even to impeach, threaten, or even just to give a tip of impeachment. That one I totally disagree with the current regime. And the issue of the Gen Z was just a tip of an iceberg, my friend. it might have been cooled. But when you go to the ocean, the place where there's a silent, there's no storm, there's silent, the deepest end. You don't know what is in the bucket. What the president would have done would have reunited the country more than creation of positions. I hear of this one, the proposal by the Nandi Senator Cherargei of the extension of the presidential term. Cherargei is a UDA member, so it is coming from the government side. Yeah, so I don't want to take much time. I'm just disappointed of what happened personally, and I want everybody to hear me that I, Humphrey Manyasa, have really, really condemned what has happened in the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Humphrey, saying that he has condemned everything that has happened in this country. And of course, whatever happened to the former DP is something that you will not even explain to a standard 5 kid, because that was so quick. I also have another guest here. So I want to welcome the other guest here so that he can give his opening remarks.
I don't know if I'm the guest, but let me just speak before maybe.
Yeah, don't trust. Yeah, don't trust.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, this is my second time here. That's why I don't consider myself as a guest. Anyway, what I can say is that what is happening in Kenya at the moment is just a tragic comment. We are seeing things moving very fast towards the wrong direction, but unfortunately, we cannot get hold of the steering wheel because the one on the steering wheel is ready to do anything to keep off anybody that can stop him from moving forward. The Ruto government has already sold our birthright, and we have nothing to do about it. If you look at the speed in which they have gone to impeach Gachagua and seal all ways that could have enabled him to have a breathing space, you realize this one was already a predetermined case. The way even if you are very keen with the wording of the ruling, you understand that this is something that actually they failed to consider anything that was being fronted by the Gachagua legal team, and insisted that whatever was being said in court, like whatever Gachagua was alleging through his team was actually not able to hold water. And the fact that they also justified their ruling based on the 14-day window that Kenya must have a vice president, and then they base on something known as the public interest. The question is that who is this public that they're basing on? Because I'm very sure that 96% of Kenyans were against the impeachment of Gachagua. That one doesn't say that Gachagua is an angel, because Gachagua is also he also has a very dark past that we all know about. But the way we say in Swahili, Mugala muwe haki mpe, in as much as he was not a very good guy, but they should have followed the due process. They should have allowed the constitution to take care of everything that was happening. Not really trying to please the unseen hand. Even you look at the way they are speaking, you just say that there's some extra hand that was guiding the entire process. And actually today I'm a very sad Kenyan, having known that the powers that be have misused the constitution just to score personal goals. And yes, Gachagua is going home, but that doesn't mean that Kenyans are asleep. The way you just mentioned, Maverick is out of this. Maverick is nobody knows where Aoko is at the moment. Nobody knows where all those people that we are told unclaimed bodies. We've never known who they are. And even following on what Martha Karua just said the other day, that the government has got trained operatives from Uganda and other neighboring countries who are working with the members of the army from the Rift Valley communities. It's such a worrying case that we should not just keep quiet and look at it. Because what Ruto is doing is that is drawing us back into the darkest era that Moi had taken us. And anybody that will try to raise a finger, even us included, shall be hunted like dogs. So it's the highest time that Kenyans woke up and realized that the coffee is not the coffee, that the coffee on the table is full of blood. So thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful. He's saying that the doctors is saying that it's high time we realize that Kenya is high time we wake up and realize that the constitution has been interfered with. I also see here Kenya Revolutionary, and of course, Kenya Revolutionary, he has been one of our frequent guests here in Africa 24. Kenya Revolutionary, and of course, I know you have seen what is happening, and a lot of gazettes have been released earlier today after the court lifted those rules, and now Gachagua is no more our deputy president. Today, we are going to get Kindiki as the DP. What do you have to take about this?
Yeah, I'm glad to see anyone. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
Loud and clear.
I've changed my drug dealer. He gave me the wrong thing last time. That's why I was so loud. But
Are you on fentanyl?
yeah, the new one is giving me something good. But anyway, Kevin is dying over there. Anyway, regarding Gachagua, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. This whole thing is unconstitutional. The whole process is unconstitutional, and Kindiki shouldn't. First of all, he was not a member of UDA in the past 6 months, and that's a requirement. Number two, the IBC never vetted him. I know some people might say that, oh, the IBC approved him because the CEO wrote that letter to Ruto saying that he's okay. Again, I bring this to the point. Remember when Gen Zs wanted to recall their MPs, and the matter went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that the IBC cannot perform its function without a commissioner and the chairperson. Okay, so that also is an issue. So Kindiki is not. This whole thing is an illegality. It's unconstitutional, and we also saw the process in which Gachagua was impeached. He was not afforded enough time, not only to produce himself or produce his lawyers to produce his body, right to habeas corpus, and also right to defend himself. He was not afforded that. So on those two reasons alone, that's not something that, you know, the whole process was not done right. And I had Judge Mrima made his when he was making his judgment, when he was reading his judgment, he said that he gave us what public interest is and defined it as to how the Black law book, the Black dictionary, whatever law dictionary defines public interest, and say that the position of deputy president cannot be left in a vacuum. No, the thing is this: it is also in the public interest that if a public officer, somebody such higher in a high ranking like deputy president, is being impeached, it is important. It is in the public interest to show that he receives fair trial, that his rights, constitutional rights, are not violated, which in this case have been violated. Remember when on Sogo, I think the lawyer was reading Justice Chacha's ruling as to the reason why they gave that conservatory order. It was given not to get rid of Article 147, 2 or 3 that Mrima was highlighting, that was saying that that was being done away by the conservatory order. But it was given, it was issued because those judges deemed fit. They said that there was a good reason to believe that the process in which this voting by the National Assembly and the Senate, there was an unconstitutional procedure that happened. That's why they gave that conservatory order. And also, even this court said that at any point that they suspect that the constitutional has been violated, they can actually stop the process at the Senate or National Assembly. So this whole thing is a sham, and it's unfortunate because now it is quite clear for all Kenyans to see that the executive, who is headed by Ruto, he has usurped power on all arms of government, whether it's judiciary, legislative body, the executive, and all the independent bodies. So it's an unfortunate day for those people who are going to celebrate. I won't celebrate. This is just the saddest day that happens in Kenya. But anyway, I'll stop there so others can contribute. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is a Kenya revolutionary. And of course, I can see we have Charlo Kinyanzui here. Kinyanzui, you can give us your opening remarks about and what do you have to take about the impeachment motion, whereby the DP is no more as the deputy in this country. We are now heading to a new vice president. That is Kithure Kindiki. What do you have to say? Is this a process done quickly? And what is your view about the mountain now? You know, the mountain now is shaking.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. I'm sorry, I'm unable to switch on my camera. I'm not in an environment that I would be comfortable showing. However, I would look at this from two different angles. And the first angle is that one of a real politic where, you know, is about the reality of this game called politics. And people say it's dirty. And this is a good display of how dirty it can get. If we all recall from the time when the president chose a running mate, and there were all sorts of rumors that Gachagua bullied his way through and used intimidation to get that ticket. Perhaps the president chose to utilize him because he needed him for the moment, but knew that after some time he would have to just do away with him and get someone whom he could comfortably work with. And well, so he had to let Gachagua roast himself. I am sure if you look at all the charges that were put against the deputy president, the then deputy president, there were things that he actually did in defense of this government. He actually said those things about shareholders and all the rest that is deemed to have been offensive was actually said to please his master, the president. The president never cautioned him and told him, no, I don't support what you're saying. Stop it. He actually allowed him to roast himself and set himself up. The same things that he said in favor of the same government are the same things that came to haunt him and hound him out of office. So it's really, you know, the typical principle of we converge based on interests. When you are not needed, you could quickly be replaced. And here we are. Now, Gachagua unfortunately thought a legal pursuit of justice would help him, but he should have been advised politically, not legally, that this was not a legal war. This was a political war. His lawyers made very valid arguments in the Senate, which is the quasi-trial chamber. But those arguments could only make sense in a court environment where they are being addressed to competent judges. Remember, the final judge there was that senator who had already made up their mind, or were just obeying orders from elsewhere. And the die had been cast. Whichever way you argue it, no matter how you embarrass Mutuse, you know, the vote must go a certain way. I can bet some of those senators were not even listening. They were just either asleep or on their phones waiting for the voting time. And indeed, they demonstrated that it was not a legal argument, it was a political argument. And like I say, I repeat, Gachagua should have been given political and not legal advice. He relied mostly on legal advisors who were perhaps more interested in the business in the whole game, because to them it's work that needs to be done and they have money to earn. And yes, he's been left. Perhaps we are yet to see how the appeal will go, but they will perhaps kill his career, at least for a duration that he'll be unable to recover. So my immediate opinion is that it's not that Kindiki is not going to perform any better than Gachagua, because the determination, most of it is made by the head, who is the president, and we all know his ways. He perhaps would wish someone who is an easy one to dictate. Gachagua could be a bit hard-headed. But in terms of political taste, the president has poisoned his chalice. He's no longer a darling of the people as he used to be. Many feel disenfranchised and disappointed in the way he has taken the country in terms of the promises he made to them, especially the mountain. I know Kenyans have a very short political memory, and I'm sure he's banking on that he's going to turn around the emotions, and we have some years to go before 2027. But he needs to know that he's dealing with a different population now, unlike before, where people could easily be swayed just 2 or 3 months before the election date, and they forget everything. Well, a good percentage of Kenyans are likely to think that way, but there's also another population that is coming up that is very keen to monitor progress, and more Kenyans get disappointed due to the lack of jobs, the hard economic times. So unless he really does what I would almost term as magic, he's going to have a very rough time going forward. Coming to the issue of Gen Z, and I hope I'm not taking too long, it is an opportunity. Yes, moderator.
Yeah, you're okay. You can continue.
To the issue of Gen Z, he actually, stamped his foot and crushed that revolution that was meant to be. Of course, with the aid of Raila Odinga, who unfortunately took advantage of the situation. I never heard the Gen Z say that among their conditions was that Azimio needs to get something. But it turned out that what the president had was that Gen Z want Azimio to get a share of the government. So it was basically taking advantage of the confusion to disentangle the president, rather to disentangle himself from the politicians who are clinging on him, perhaps Gachagua being one of them. So he took advantage of that confusion to play a game and look like he was reorganizing in favor of Kenyans, but he was actually reorganizing in his own favor politically. Actually, in my opinion, he played the 2027 game in June 2024. It was time to show Gachagua the middle finger and tell him, I can replace the block you claim to have given me, which is debatable again, because many don't believe that Ruto or Gachagua really added the block of the mountain to Ruto's plate. Ruto had already climbed the mountain before Gachagua joined him. But anyway, because Gachagua seemed to believe that the mountain was behind Ruto because of his presence, Ruto took that opportunity to tell him, look, I can still do it without the mountain. I can replace your block with other many blocks. I have the Luo nation that Weta and Musalia were unable to convince to join the Kenya Kwanza government. This is the time to welcome them. The cost. So, to hell with your mountain. And anyway, you still won't beat me in the mountain. I am going to get a share of it. So you go out there, form some dalliance with Kalonzo Musyoka, which I'll try and spoil by introducing a Kamba in the game to come and impeach Gachagua. Then I can play a game and tell the Kambas, look, mountain, rather tell the mountain, look, Kambas are not your friends. They impeached your son. So this is an endless game, and it changes every day. I think we have yet more to see. It's not over yet. We are moving to the next phase of sharing positions between Raila and Ruto, as we hear. On the post, they did the first share of the cabinet. We know it's coming to the lower levels of government. And there's also rumors about those seats in the Senate and the National Assembly. Raila, we know him. He will demand for more. He has sacrificed enough. He saved Ruto from a lot of trouble. And he's very good at playing that game of give and take. I submit at this stage. Thank you.
Wonderful. That is wonderful, Charlo. And of course, he has given us some of the main sentiments about the Gachagua case. This is a game that was played long time ago, but Gachagua did not realize this. Though he had a team of very competent lawyers, but still he could not have won it. Remember, this is Africa 24, and of course, this is a political talk. Here we're discussing what next after Gachagua impeachment.
Bonnie,
Mzalendo, you have to add something on it?
yeah, I want to add something. The speaker who has just spoken, Chialo, has said some interesting comments. These are very sober comments coming from him, and it is an observation by many who are sober and want the country to move in the right direction. Uh, what William Ruto is doing right now is using the playbook of Robert Greene, the 48 laws of power, and is destroying his enemies completely to submission. In the 15th law, destroy your enemy completely until they don't have the opportunity to come up again politically. And Kello said something that I had said earlier. And if you watched my presentation earlier on, we advised Gachagua that this is a political process. This is not some. This is Kenya is not a country where you will try and fight the president and succeed. You will only succeed temporarily, but you will get the upper hand in the judiciary. I remember Martha Koome has been missing, gone on leave. She's never been reported in office. Despite everything that is going on, she's never commented. She's nowhere. Yeah. So this was technically a political process. Gachagua took the wrong direction. But what would have been the best means of Gachagua? Either way, Diallo, either way, the way I look at it is that even if the deputy president, the former now is the former deputy president, decided to resign, the only alternative that would be having is to contest in 2027 and have a political office. But by and large, the government would have come for him, come for him. But the good part of it is we would have had the political influence of his community. Right now, he has to wait for over 7 years in order to contest any political office. If the Supreme Court can save Gachagua, then so be it. He might have another day to compete against William Ruto and his policy. But every Kenyan is saying that they need service delivery. Uh, the deputy president was not an impeachment of uh, was not an obstacle in any of the services that the Kenyan people are demanding. The cost of education, healthcare, infrastructure development, what the Gen Zs had brought up. Look at the issue of the budget. Right now, we don't have the finance budget of 2024. Yeah. So what are we saying? What are we saying? So this country is ruled by a tyrant and is preparing all his troops. The speaker said that Raila Odinga is eyeing for those positions and demanding more because he feels that he stabilized the government of William Ruto, but stabilized the government of William Ruto to the wrong direction. Yeah, these are political opponents. You know, when you form a political party, to compete against the ruling party, you don't join the government. You form a political party in order to be in power when the opportunity comes in. But these are opportunists. They are talking about government of national unity. I spoke about this thing called multi-party democracy and why it is not helping our country. It is creating a competition where people compete for the political class in Kenya competing for positions not to help the public, but to help themselves and the friends around them. So that is what is happening in our country. The politicians are the richest people in Kenya today, and everybody else, every other profession, be it a teacher, be it a policeman, be it an engineer, doctor, what they are eyeing for is a political office, but not to serve the public, but to serve their own interests. So the birth of Gen Z is a good thing for us. It's a good thing for us. Whatever political class the political groupings that they will join at the end of the day, this will be very helpful for us to make a clear judgment on what we want as a country. But they gave us direction where we had failed as the people. Today we are rejoicing a public holiday. Uh, we are rejoicing that the Kenyans have been given a public holiday for swearing in of a DP, something that should take less than 10 minutes, and it is over. So we are going to rejoice for what? These are decisions that we need to, we need to look at them deeply. And look at what this will do to the economy tomorrow. Look at what it will do to the economy. Economists will tell you that we don't need all these bogus holidays. They don't help us in any way. In modern, in developed countries, Christmas is just held on 25th and 26th. People are back to work, but in Africa we have to continue for celebrating for months. So these are things that we need to stop. These are things that we need not to celebrate about because we need to have a country that is moving towards the right direction. Right now, the guy who is going to occupy that particular office of the deputy president has got blood in his hand. We have got people still missing. We have got people still missing. And when you look at the other group that has now joined government, they're rejoicing. They're rejoicing and taking you back to, so many people have died, so many people have disappeared. It is okay for somebody to disappear in Kenya and we move on. It is not okay. Parliament is continuing its business as usual, like nothing has happened. Today, I had Sifuna comment about the issue in the Senate, but look at his comment. He was not. He didn't even know who Aoko is. He's pretending that he doesn't even know. He's just doing it for the sake of public, for the sake of the public. But this is something that should have been raised by each and every member in the Senate. That if you have a government and you are elected the president, you should protect the citizens of Kenya. You should not kill the future of the country by killing so many youth in order to be in power. That's my take. Thank you very much.
That is Zalendo. Thank you so much. And of course, it's saying that 50 million Kenyans, they should not stop going to work because of just swearing in. That one is going to withstand and, of course, withhold the economy of the country. And you know that as Kenya, we are still much far behind when it comes to development. And yet, we are having these holidays now and then after what happened today in the evening. That is early in the evening, you saw a lot of gazettes being given to the public. Kenya Revolutionary, did you agree that the mountain now is no more. Since Gachagua was the kingpin, after Uhuru just left the office, and of course after he finished the 2 terms, do you believe that the mountain now is shaking?
I'll be very brief because I know Kevin was next and I have a 5-month-old here, but I wanted to touch on something before I go to that question. I take issue with this whole idea that this process, Gachagua impeachment, was a political process. It was not a political process. It might have been inspired by politically inspired, but the process is actually constitutional. If you see the function of the Senate, I heard one of the speakers say that making fun of Metuse didn't have effect or whatever the case is. Actually, it did, because Senate basically is supposed to perform a quasi-judicial function when it comes to impeachment. That means they have to ask questions and ascertain if those charges that are brought before against Gachagua are true. Okay, and all this, if you had the judges today also, they were basically saying that there was nothing proven to be true as far as those 11 charges that were brought before against Gachagua. So again, the process was not political. The lawyers, Gachagua's lawyers, were not lying to him. They are doing the right thing. It's unfortunate that the courts have been compromised. We could see this. I mean, even the jurisdiction question, it wasn't supposed to, these 3 panel of judges, they were not supposed to hear this case or decide on it. So again, just to relate that very quickly with the decision that was made, was it yesterday, about the finance bill. Everyone, even blind people, knew that this finance bill was unconstitutional, okay, based on the evidence alone. But again, they made the decision, a very peculiar decision, which was all written. They read the judgment as a one opinion, okay, which is rare, because Supreme Court justices always, each and every one, each of the justices, they always read their own opinion, just like you saw today with Justice Ogola gave his Freda, and then Mrima, okay? So that was unusual. So that's why I'm saying, again, just to make a correction, just to wrap up, I'm saying this process was not political. It was inspired politically, but the process is actually constitutional. That's why it gives courts jurisdiction over it, because there's matters of there was a question of its the constitutional nature of how the process took place. Again, it goes back to the whole question. You had the judges talk about the justiciability, and this whole political question doctrine, which is basically nonsense. They're basically saying that the impeachment process is not it has nothing to do with the law. It just has to do with politics. It's a sorry argument, but again, if you have to look at the evidence and what the Constitution says the process, how it should be conducted, this was a purely it's unfortunate that they came to the whatever they did. Now, to your question, you asked me who is the kingpin, Gachagua or Kenyatta?
This was just a question that I just gave to your hand, that now Gachagua has been impeached. It's not representing Monte Kenya. And of course, that is a region that always determines whether you're going to win the presidential seats in this country.
No.
It has a massive number of votes.
It doesn't.
Now, who do you think is going to be there for the mountain? Or it is now the end of the mountain?
Number one, the mountain doesn't decide who's to become the president. Kibaki lost in 2007. Uhuru lost in 2017. Uhuru lost in 2013, and he was being backed by the mountain. So they don't decide who becomes the president. The majority of Kenyans decide who becomes the president. That's a fallacy that has always been perpetuated by those politicians who come from that region. But who is going to be the kingpin? I think the kingpin is still been the same. It's always been Kenyatta. He's always been under the behind the scenes. He kind of remotely control things. You saw him, he's back now. We can see his face. He actually reminds me of that. Somebody wrote that, and it reminds me of that prosecutor in Vioja Makamani who asked people questions if you see his new hairstyle. But anyway, Jomo Kenyatta is not Jomo Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta is still the kingpin of Central Province or the mountain. That's in a short answer. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Kenya Revolutionary, and they're saying that Uhuru Kenyatta is still the kingpin. And just daughters, short while, like now, Gachagua is not there, and you have heard a child saying that this was a well-calculated move. This was a move that was made long time ago, and Gachagua didn't realize. They used Mwenge Mutusi, who is from the eastern region, so that he can table the motion. So if Gachagua had those ideas of joining with Kalonzo, then that was spoiled. Do you agree with these words? As Dotras, are you there? I think Dotras has just disconnected. Kevin, do you agree that the eastern region was used so that if Gachagua had that idea of joining with Kalonzo, it will not be there?
Maybe, Bonnie, I can attempt to answer that question since some of the panelists are not around. You see, Central Kenya feels that they have been cheated. If you look at all the major political players, those ones who are in parliament and in Senate, apart from those who support now the impeachment, the Ichungas cannot even go home. You know where Ichunga's constituency is? Ichunga's constituency is in Kikuyu, Kino, that area, Gashie. He cannot go to his own constituency because of this impeachment. And not that he has not done a wonderful job in that area. He has done quite some good job in the constituency. All the roads are tarmacked in that particular constituency. But what is happening? What is happening to Ichungwa? The Kikuyu community now feel that they have been targeted. They have been targeted by William Ruto, despite campaigning for him and getting to those positions. So they feel that they are indeed being targeted. So that is one thing that you have to look at and see that this community feel that there is some kind of unfair or unjust position by William Ruto to target one of their own. The rush to impeach Gachagua. Yes, it was within the constitution that some of the issues that they were raised were actually motivated by uh, by by um, by his actions. So the president felt that he should go. But for me, this is what I feel. I feel that Gachagua was blocking some of uh, some of the what could I call them? The things that William Ruto wanted to implement. He was like somebody who wanted more when it came maybe to contracts and all that. Maybe he was scrutinizing them and he was demanding a share. Like he used to talk about the shareholding. This is a shareholding government and things like that. So any businesses that business that comes within government, I think he wanted to know what it is all about, the Adanis and all that. And when he was kicked out, maybe he was asking too many questions. That could be a possible reason. But what is the way forward for the Kikuyu community now that they have been kicked out of government and in a very lucrative position, which is the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya? Of course, Kikuyus are hurt. If you look at all Kikuyus from Kiambu, Nyeri, Moranga, nobody is happy about how Gachagua has been treated. And even if Gachagua was this thief that they are saying, he needed to have had his day in court in a proper manner, not those rushed kind of impeachment. I mean, they had all the time to kick this guy out, but have the process properly done. And the president, indeed, if he wanted Gachagua to change his ways, he would have told him, Bana, you are doing the wrong thing. But this also goes to Christians out there. I mean, if you are calling yourself a Christian and you cannot forgive another Christian, then these guys were not even Christians. Their wives are ministers in churches, and they pray each and every day. In William Ruto's government, every Wednesday people are fasting in at State House in Nairobi. But when it comes to a decision like this, he cannot forgive somebody who was offended. Now he takes a political stand to kanyaga yeye kabisa and make sure that he is finished completely. So hii ndio shida tuko nayo hapo Kenya, and I hope it is a lesson to so many people who think that even if they abuse, Gachagua was very, very dramatic, and he used to insult the people on the other side, people in Azimio. Now, Azimio, Raila Odinga is now on the driving seat, and maybe that was part of his demand that this guy has to go. If I was to join you in government, then Gachagua lazima atembe. And indeed, ametembeza Gachagua. So Gachagua is no more. So let us see if this will provide the service delivery that Kenyan people want. For me, I think it was unfair. It still remains unfair. And Ruto's government needs to come out clean and tell us where all these youths who were in demonstrations, where they are. And even lately, the abduction of Maverick Kaoko. We will continue pushing until we know the truth. Remember, this is a country where right now we are being told by Martha Karua, who is very authentic in whatever she says, that there is a killer squad in Kenya. Yaani ukiongea hivi unawao. So ni nchi gani tuko nayo? Mi nauliza tu, Wakenya mko pale, wale wanashangilia, wanafurahia. Yaani ukiongea against the president of the Republic of Kenya, utapatikana body parts kila mahali Kenya. Kichwa inaweza patikana Mandera, mkono ipatikane Kisumu na viungo vyako vingine. So ni nchi gani hii tuko nayo? Hiyo ndio
That
swali
is,
yangu.
Mzalendo is asking which country are we in? So I want just to ask Chalo and Okoze. Chalo, what do you think? What do you think is the political future of the Kikuyu nation? That is the Kikuyus.
Thank you, Bonnie. And before I give my opinion around the future of the Kikuyu nation, I would wish to maybe respond to what Revolutionary said before he left.
Okay.
Maybe he helped me to polish my statement around this having been a political process, and by adding the word inspired politically. Well, for it to be executed, it has to follow a certain path, which is defined in the constitution, whether political or not. So it looks like a constitutional process, but is being driven by politicians. And what my point was that perhaps if Gachagua had a chance at all, his planning would have been more on the political than the legal front. You can be sure if Gachagua had more senators backing him than the ones that sent him away, he would have a better chance of surviving than he did. So, and even courts sometimes apply the doctrine of avoidance, and they say, this is a hot potato. We want to keep distance. Let the politicians run the show. Because they can be fixed in a situation where, if they really want to stick the law, they will look to cost the country politically. So they choose to let the politicians run the show like they did today. It's already tomorrow, as people would say. So that was yesterday, actually. We are swearing in a new DP today. So about the Kikuyu nation, I want to go back to the times of Uhuru and Azimio in 2021, 2022, where Uhuru really cried to that nation and asked them, brothers and sisters, don't let this thing go. Uhuru knew that power is not about the presidency alone. The president is just a ceremonial symbol of power, but power resides behind the scenes. If you recall that team that was interviewing Raila, that is power. Power is not necessarily Uhuru himself. But the nation, of course, in their lay understanding, thought that as long as we have a president who loves us, we are in government, because they were told, tutaunda hii serikali pamoja. Uhuru knew that the control of most instruments of power and the economy was mostly within the mountain region. And he did not want that to shift. He knew that by shifting to a president from another ethnic community, and when I see this, I'm just analyzing. When I say this, I'm not supporting that arrangement because it's archaic and it has taken us to the place where we are as a nation. But the realpolitik, which I like arguing against, is that when you have a shift of ethnicity at the top, power also tends to shift. If you look at most government institutions, parastatals, big organizations, even in the private sector, you can't fail to notice that there is a shift of, nomenclature. Names that used to be there have shifted to other names. Now, that is what Uhuru meant. And he knew, perhaps, that he was trying to tell them, I have negotiated a better deal for you with Raila. He doesn't belong to this community. But the seat is likely to take a shorter loop back here. Or at least with my arrangement, you're likely to have some of you still in that circle of power, as opposed to when you let this thing go to my opponents who are determined to, first of all, break the status quo and shift everything. Well, they chose to try the experiment. And look, I think it's going to take a long while before they can sit ndani ya serikali as they used to be for a while. Not that really sitting in government in the traditional sense of Kenyan thinking helps anyone. Because like the late Kalembe Ndile said, the only tribes that matter in this country are two, the poor and the rich. The rest is political language used to hoodwink. So for the Kikuyu nation, they will continue hustling. They are very industrious and very entrepreneurial people. But at a certain level, those people who used to enjoy being close to the echelons of power will obviously feel the heat. And they really struggle to grab it back. they were told, remember, the last time it left this place in 1978, it took at least 24 hours before it came back. So, of course, it was going to go to Raila if they had given into Uhuru's wish, but he perhaps thought the loop, like I said, would be shorter. This time, I think it could be longer than the 24 years. If it shifts from the rift, it might not as well be coming back to the mountain. I submit. Bon.
Thank you so much. Charlie is saying that it may take longer than 24 years, since during Kenyatta time, that is Kenyatta era, it took a lot of time, because in the year 1978 until 2002, that is when the Kikuyu nation took over the leadership, and they were now in the government. Joined by Ashley here. Ashley, welcome. And of course, you are one of our own here in Africa 24. Just to ask you, do you think this process that was used to impeach the former DP Gachagua was politicized, or there was someone who was inspiring this process of the removal of the right honorable honest man? He used to call himself the honest man.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing good. I don't have much to submit. I actually just came in when I had the previous speaker speak about people failing to listen to Uhuru, who may have negotiated better for us. I don't know who us he meant, and thinking that it was a shorter route. But you see, when you plan, I always say, don't underestimate your enemy. Don't think you're the most smartest person in the room and the other person is not smart, whoever that opponent is. Even when Gen Z come here and plan, I don't see them. When you plan, you also have to remember that the other person is planning too, and not to underestimate them. One thing why we didn't listen to Uhuru is he himself had not performed. Were it Kibaki, who was living and giving people direction, I believe people would have listened to him. Uhuru, actually, Ruto is doing or took over from where Uhuru left and took it a step higher, a notch higher. Uhuru didn't do any good. Remember, during COVID, he locked down everyone. He didn't provide anything, any backup. He didn't give any people anything. And then on top of that, he demolished people's houses in a lockdown. Imagine your house is demolished, and these are poor people, not someone who can go and get another house or apartment, lease another apartment. So when they are demolished, the only option left for them is to go to their rural homes. But the city is locked down. People like to say that people refused, or let me say, Uhuru's tribe refused to listen to him because of Raila. It is true to some extent. Some percentage did that, but not everyone. Some judged him from what he had done as a president. He had ruled with an iron fist. He was deaf to their cries. So if someone comes and rules you so harshly and then gives you advice on the way forward, would you listen to him in your right mind? Even as an insane person, would you really listen to him? If he didn't do good, how could he plan good for us? So I have never regretted, and I do not want anyone who voted for Ruto to regret that they didn't listen to Uhuru, because the people he was asking us to go to are actually helping Ruto oppress the people. So it was damned if we do, and damn if we don't. They were both bad choices. So we are not going to make Uhuru into a martyr or into a very wise leader, because the man he calls his president, he said he will not recognize Ruto as his president. He wants to recognize Raila, but Raila is recognizing Ruto as his president. And Raila's troops are the ones helping Ruto enforce and strengthen his government. So I don't know how you'd sit and regret to not listening to Uhuru. I think fate was bound to happen. Now, what we do from here is how do we choose leaders that serve us and not themselves? Because even that thing he was telling us to do wasn't really for us, but to preserve himself, for his own survival. It wasn't for the people. When are we going to start choosing leaders that serve us? Now, I've seen other people suggest that the next lineup should be Kalonzo, Matiang'i, and Gachagua. Actually, when Gachagua was chosen, a lot of people in UDA were mad. They actually wanted Kindiki. So I don't see why people in ODM are taunting people and saying, oh, Kindiki has, it's like they think people feel bad. The feeling bad isn't that people hate Kindiki. In fact, they preferred him to Gachagua. But it is the process. When you hate evil, you just hate evil. The thing with our leaders, they have known that they can put us against each other. We have to decide, I have principles. I am not fighting personalities. I am fighting for the rule of law, that it applies in every situation. Because these same people in ODM are the ones who helped Uhuru do. Remember, he took out people illegally from committees, took them all out, and they helped him. And these are we are saying these are the alternative to what Ruto is doing now. Is a thief, and the person who helps him steal not equal. I don't get our thinking as Kenyans. And up to the day we learn that you cannot support wrong, I think that's the day we will start to grow. Because we can't fight each other and be put against one another. Someone was saying that in 2027, maybe we should, the Kikuyu should tell Ruto they will support him so they can defeat Uhuru. Then what after? You see, because we have short-term goals, we see very near, okay, we've defeated that person. It's not a game. This game is killing people. We are putting people who have no qualifications, people who have no heart for our country, people who have no heart to serve people. And people are dying early. Gen Z keeps saying, and they keep, it's like a tag, it's like a thing to be proud about, that they're the majority in the country. Have they ever sat down to think, why are they majority? In 20 years, will they still be the majority, or will they be the minority? Because of healthcare, quality of life, there is none. That is why the mortality rate is high. That is why we don't have senior people. That is why Gen Z are the majority. You don't stay young forever. Actually, the shortest time is that youth. And it's gone. It fleets. It's like grass. Here today, gone tomorrow. So if 2025 is the Gen Z is the majority, do they know in 20, 30 years they won't be here? If we keep choosing wrong leaders, we have to choose leaders that preserve life. We have to choose leaders that give us policies that help us preserve life, that gives us quality of life. We are so foolish when we fight each other, and the people who are gaining are our politicians. Why should we enable Ruto to take out Gachagua, even though we hate Gachagua, unconstitutionally? What does that make us? Why can't we say, yes, we'll take him out, but we have to do it in a constitutional manner? Again, I wanted to choose Kindiki before, but after what I've watched him do during the demonstrations, I am not sure he is even worth to hold any political office in Kenya. Anyway, I'm going to end by saying this. Every an MP has an election, he's elected, an MCA is elected, a senator is elected, a governor is elected. There is a reason the president chooses a running mate before the election, and then they are both elected on one ticket. Whoever is the moderator, I would want you to put all the 11 counts against Gachagua on the screen. And we say that Ruto or whoever it is that brought the motion for impeachment to tell me which of those things came after he was elected and not before. So if Ruto elected him to be his running mate, nominated him to be his running mate with those violations by convicting Gachagua, is it that even a direct conviction of the person of the president? Because either by negligence, incompetence, or willfulness, he chose someone who was unqualified to be in the highest office. My concern is that he's repeating the same mistake. There is no way that that the choice, the way in picking a deputy president changes because it is not an election, that he can choose whomever he wants. After the 2010 constitution was brought into place, deputy president had to be elected and run through. He can't just be elected by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Where do the people come in? Supposing we want to remove him because of violations, would they come to the people to seek public participation on a person they did not have a say in electing? That is the only position right now as we speak. If Kindiki is sworn in, that will be someone in office, a very high position that can be president, that has not been elected. The least they could do is make sure Article 137 is enforced. Because what if Ruto brings in Adani as his deputy? If we are not going to enforce 137, what if next time another president brings a non-citizen? What is there to stop him if he can buy the parliament, if he can buy the judiciary to elect whomever he wants? Isn't that the same way as choosing a vice president? A deputy should go through the IEBC, they should go through Article 137, they should not be an officer of the state, they should be in the party, all of which Kindiki has not met. Why are we are giving Ruto more power than he deserves? He made a mistake with Gachagua. He is making another mistake with Kindiki, and he's putting it in our face and asking, Mtadu, what are we going to do, guys? Thank you.
Wonderful. That is Ashley, and of course, she has said that Ruto is making moves that will one day haunt him. Mzalendo, what do you have to say about what Ashley has said? And of course, she has given one of the best sentiments according to the current situation in the government.
You see, Ashley is very, very right. There is a lot of misconception on what is happening. If you look at the people who are now supporting one William Ruto, are the same people who are opposing him the other day. These are the same people who said that they can never join hands with William Ruto to form government. Same as William Ruto, he said that there's no day he will ever join Raila Odinga. He said he knows the man better than any other Kenyan because he has worked with Raila and he was part and parcel of the formation of ODM. Now they are together. This tells you one thing. It only tells you that we as Kenyans, we don't have a say. These politicians only use us when they need us. We are used like a tissue paper and dumped whenever whenever they are done with wiping their butt, they flush us out. And when they want to use the toilet again, they pick another new role that they use. So it is high time. I know it is a very, very difficult time for us as Kenyans, but a lot needs to be done in terms of informing the general public. Whatever you're doing on this platform is good enough for those who want to listen and weigh the options that they have, both politically and with all those violations of the Constitution. This will happen to you one day if you go into politics. So sometimes you can be supporting this. Like Gachagua was really talking badly about Raila before, and he said that America mtego kila mahali. But right now, he's out. He's out of our government, and he doesn't have the political power anymore. So what William Ruto will do is to crush him completely. So what does he have? He has only the tribal base called Mount Kenya. As much as we are trying to run away from the tribal politics, there's just a way that it keeps on creeping in, and the political class know it very well. Moi used to use this tactic of divide and rule. Today, William Ruto has successfully divided the Gema community, and meaning the Meru and Embu are going to side with Kindiki. Now, the rest of central Kenya will remain disgruntled for the next few years until we go for election. That is exactly what he's doing. Does he need the numbers in central? Yes, he needs them, but he doesn't need the whole of central province to support him. So long as he has a section of central province, he's okay. Then he has moved to Nyanza. He made sure that Raila Odinga has got loyalists. People would he would tell left, right, and they would follow. People would tell jump. They would only ask him, "How high do you want me to jump, my lord?" Then they will jump. Now he has got those kind of fanatics and lunatics in his camp. So he's already in control of the dialogue, the political dialogue that is going to happen in social media and any other dialogue that is going to surround his presidency. Remember, the community that William Ruto comes from is not very vocal as what was where Raila comes from. So Raila will now take the place of defending each and everything that Ruto is doing. He has started with Adani. Adani is now going to do his project in Kenya for 30 years. We are just going to watch. But did Gachagua have a solution? Yes, he had. He had a solution, and he still has a solution, even as this matter is being taken to the Supreme Court. The Kikuyu community have a solution, but they can't use it. They don't think very political. They are good in strategy, but now where it needs aggressive kind of politics, they are nowhere. Now this is where ODM Raila Odinga beats them, because Raila is more aggressive than the Wiper leader, than any other political leader in the history of the Republic of Kenya. He has got a small base, but he can always ignite them. Central Kenya are not using their proximity to Nairobi very well. If these are guys who would have made sure that Gachagua is president, but they can't. They don't know how to do it. They would rather stay in their businesses and continue with whatever they are doing. But they don't think very, very political like other communities like the Luo, and maybe by extension, now Kamba is also emerging. So we have got a long way to go. Ruto bado atatukalia tu vile anatukalia. The Gen Zs came up. I hope in the background they are strategizing because Ruto now lacks legitimacy. He does not have the people who supported him. The other half of the country that supported him are not with him. So Central is no longer with him. And by extension, many other communities who supported him, maybe because of Gachagua, or maybe because of the policies that he has failed to implement. So we have got some shows coming, some political maneuver and name calling in the next few weeks after Kindiki has been sworn in. There will be a lot of politics going on. I don't think there will be much development going on, but there will be a lot of politics. But at the same time, let us be watchful to see what is being passed in the on the background. As we were busy politicking on the Kindiki issue, IBC is probably being selected, and we are not even concerned. The next thing you'll see is that Ruto has got the IBC commissioners as early as next week. And then you'll be wondering, kwani hao walichaguliwa lini? The process has been going on, and they will be put in place very, very soon. That's my take.
Wonderful Mzalendo. And Chelo actually has stated some of the key things, and of course that concerns William Ruto. Did you have something to add on what Ashley had said, or you can reply to what she said?
Yes, Bonnie. I like the vigor in and the commitment to change that Ashley is demonstrating. Perhaps what I might want to clarify so that she doesn't perceive like I am in support of what happened is that I just chose to be a neutral commentator today in terms of just analyzing and reminding us of the story without necessarily giving my personal stand on some of the issues. But I'm occasionally mentioning that this way of doing politics in Kenya has not helped us. The modus operandi of politics in Kenya is not for the masses. It is a class game. It is a game where we, the poor, are those bottle caps on the draft table, and the masters are pushing the chess. So I agree with what Ashley is saying, that there has to be a change, a shift in the mindset of the Kenyan. And I have been insisting that I'm talking of the realpolitik. Realpolitik is how it is played, but there is idealpolitik, how it should be. The realpolitik is the game that Uhuru was playing. It doesn't mean that by throwing the ball at Raila and Raila throwing it back at the Kikuyu community was only in any way going to help Wanjiku. No, it was still a class game. It's a game of the dynasties, the few families that we know, and their own agreements that they make behind our backs. And we think that when they make those arrangements that they make, we think that they are making them on our behalf. So maybe what I would say is that the political class must learn that the nation is changing. And the best illustration is what happened in June 2024. They better change their plan. It's not going to work in the future. Balkanizing this country along tribal lines and playing their politics the traditional way of reminding us which communities we belong to when they need us will only work for a very short time. There is a new tribe that has no name, and they said it. We are tribeless, we don't belong to communities, we are partyless, and we are leaderless. This community will dictate the future of this nation. I would call that a prophecy, and that is not going to take long to be realized. This will be strength, and the next time it comes, The people who refused to join the Gen Z in the streets because they were scared, they were, a bit conservative, like Mzalendo is saying, they felt that I would rather go open my shop. This thing is taking too long. I want to open my shop and I haven't opened for the last week. Someone robbed my, spare parts from my shop and I can't earn money anymore. Those people will sacrifice that business for the sake of their nation. That will be precipitated by the current situation. One, there is a group that felt unfairly crushed. And someone somewhere might sit back and say, we are done with Gen Z. They'll never arise again. But when they come, they'll be stronger because all the conditions that precipitate into a revolution are exactly what is happening in this country. The hard times, everyone is feeling the pressure, the taxes, the parents who cannot pay for their school fees, the university students who are stuck at the university and they can't begin studies because they have never known whether they will pay fees or not. The jobless people who are looking for jobs, and instead of getting jobs locally here, they're being sent abroad to countries that ideally the government should be bringing our children back from. Those people will stand up very soon. So I really didn't want to get into getting opinionated in terms of my stand, but I wanted just to take the position of analyzing the situation as is. And perhaps what I'm saying is trying to get in the mind of the politician and say, when Ruto is doing this, he imagines that he has bagged the Luo, he has bagged the Luya, and he has disenfranchised the Kikuyu. He's splitting the mountain, like Ndalendo is saying. There is now the East and the West, and hopefully by 2027 or 2032, that region, which is very problematic, called the mountain, should ideally be speaking in the unit of the county, the different counties. Now, he has managed to identify 2 blocks that are already working for him. He might want to split them into quarters and 8ths or 16ths as we go by. Thank you, Gwen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Charlo. Ashley.
Yes, someone once said that yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself. I think in order to change our country, we need to change ourselves and what we think. Because if supporting our man, mtu wetu, improves our livelihood, then we should support our man. But if supporting mtu wetu does not improve your life, then you should support that person who improves your life. It doesn't have to be someone who speaks the same as you, who looks like you. It has to be someone who is there to change your life. I think on a personal level, we have to be personal in our choices, and collectively we can get the right person in place. That's what I'm going to say today. And also, I want us to challenge ourselves. People have been talking, we have this show, we have so many shows, we have X spaces, and we are talking, we are saying Ruto must go. Lakini hizi kelele ni kelele za chura too, because even as we say that, Adani is still making deals. Cherargei just came with a bill to extend their term limits. Have you ever seen someone daring you? Like what you're saying doesn't matter. Like you're just throwing a tantrum. Like they're really ignoring you. We need to sit down. We need to bring our heads together and ask ourselves, what can we do to make them know we mean business? What do we need to do? Because we have to change tact. What we are doing is not working. Thank you.
And actually, of course, they are doing a lot of things in this country. But I want just to ask you this question. Of course, some of the things that are happening in this country are because of politics, and politics in Kenya is a mind game. what do you think is the future of Kikuyu politics, Ashley?
I think you are asking the wrong person. I have never thought about Kikuyu politics. I'm always a nationalist. The Bible says, or I don't know whether it's the Bible says, that a house that is divided cannot stand. I think Kenya is our house, divided into different units. And as long as each unit does their job, the house will stand. In order for our country to shine, in order for our glory to be seen and to be spoken of and to be praised around the world, we have to unite and ignite the country. So we can't think of Kikuyu politics where it succeeds, while another part of the country fails. We will still remain a third world country because there will be no peace, there will be strife as we are witnessing. So I think if Kikuyu politics helps the rest of the country, I want to be involved in that conversation. But it's just for preservation of Kikuyu. It actually is not for the preservation of the Kikuyu. It is the preservation of the big people, the kingpins, because we have had 3 presidents. Now you are saying we won't have another leadership in 25 years. So be it. How many Kenyan Kikuyus are getting killed in Saudi Arabia? Have you ever had even one of those billionaires, even Uhuru, a trillionaire, ever sponsoring a body bag to Kenya? Have you ever had? This time when they're having these people getting stuck in hospitals, not able to go for have their medical access to medical, like people with dialysis issues. Gachagua went to the church the other day and gave $1 million to church. He can't even think to go to a hospital or to donate this money to hospitals for a fund that people come there and are treated. He can't think. We need people who are in touch with the people on the down. Don't you think would even rather come and sit in a classroom because there is no church? But these people can get medical access when they need it. That their children can go to school. That he can open with that $1 million, he can go and open a small industry so that he can employ some people. So when you ask me about Kikuyu politics, I am not in it. And I get very angry when someone puts me into that discussion, coming to taunt me because Gachagua has been removed. The Gachagua who told students who are graduating there were no jobs, and he didn't offer them any hope on how his government was going to give them jobs. He deserved to be impeached, but it should have been done the right way. That's all what I'm going to say.
Actually, she says that Gachagua deserved to be impeached, but in the right way, because maybe he might have altered some of the words, and those words are the ones that haunted him until the last hour. Of course,
imagine that Gachagua as president. I know someone was saying if Kikuyus would come and choose. We are choosing him for what? To do what for us? He can't create jobs. He's discouraging people. Yet he's a billionaire and he's crying because he has lost a job. Yet he's discouraging someone who maybe they sold all their property to get money to go to school. And you come there and tell them there are no jobs. Yet you're crying because you've been taken out from the government and you're a billionaire. You tell me about that. And how can we think? What reason would we have to have him elected as president? Why? Can someone give me one reason why we should come and discuss what we can do and unite so we can choose him as a president? For what reason? What has he given us that should make us choose him as president? Guys, we need to get serious. It is a job to be done, and we have to get the right person there to do the job. We stop joking. We have to stop being lunatic and practicing lunacy. We have to talk and act like educated people. or even semi-illiterate people who are going somewhere who want something for their country. We cannot just choose people because we want to beat Ruto. We have to put a person there who can actually do the job and move our country and move so that we stop having people dying young and give quality of life, that our country will be one of the countries that will be said that they have quality of life, that we take care of our people, that we create opportunities for employment. I wish that is what Gachagua was coming to say, that guys, there is no employment, but I am promising you, I'm working day and night so we can open factories, so we can do this. There is one way you can tell people there are no jobs and give them hope. There is one way you can come and tell people there are no jobs and not give them hope, and that is what he did. And for that reason, even Ruto should have been impeached for bringing us someone not worthy of that position. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Actually, she thinks that we should have even impeached Ruto because he chose Gachagua, yet he knew that he was not worthy for that position. Chalo, do you think that William Ruto used Gachagua so that he can win the election for 2022? Then after winning the election, then he knew that he will dump him. He will make him just be like a prodigal son.
Sorry, I'm having a problem unmuting. Yes, the frustration in Ashley is palpable, and you know it is so in the hearts of so many of us. Just that we may lack the words to express. However, before I talk about Ruto and Gachagua, I think somehow the mountain will have to participate in the politics of this country. So that by default means that the politics of the mountain has a future. Whether they are going to do it the way they've done it before, whether they are going to use this opportunity to reorganize and shift into that thinking that Ashley is suggesting, I think they have an opportunity. They have a chance now. It's time for them to organize themselves and show us we will not think as people of the mountain. We shall think as Kenyans. And we are not going to be mobilized around tribe, around ethnicity, and around backward politics. So somehow there is a vacuum there. It is a wait and see for me. I feel like there's going to be a lot of effort to split the region even further. And this is now just political commentating what I was saying, because Ruto knows that the mountain can be a very difficult region because they look at politics very transactionally. To them, you need to make it work for them so that they can give you the vote. They have businesses, they have interest in real estate, in farming, in literally any sector of the economy. And any slight change that affects their hustles is really a big consideration. It becomes a campaign item to them. So Ruto having dropped Gachagua and taking this opportunity to split the mountain sort of makes him to penetrate with a bit of ease, because he's not talking to a very big block. He can easily disenfranchise and buy a few people to manage the east and the west for him. And perhaps, like I was suggesting, splitting the region even further works better for him, so that there is no solid voice from that region. And by saying this, I'm not insisting that the solid voice is the kind of voice that Gachagua was campaigning for. No. A voice that says, these people need jobs, these people need better lives, they are wallowing in poverty, their children need to go to school and such, they need roads and stuff like that. Now, it is, of course, always comfortable for anyone in power to enjoy the status quo. Nobody wants a shift from the current state of things, especially if you're enjoying that state of things. So Ruto is most likely going to get somebody who is not likely to grow horns like Gachagua and begin questioning. And that person perhaps is in the new deputy that we are getting. Gachagua would, like he says being honest and truthful. But to others, it's growing horns and speaking too much, spilling the beans, threatening, bullying his way around. That is not the kind of person any president would want to have as a deputy. They want somebody who is a yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Unfortunately, on the other face, does it work for the common mwananchi? No. So currently we are operating in a state that Mzalendo said, tutafinywa kwa muda. And our hope is only when we revolutionize our thinking in what Ashley is saying, so that we stop giving our loyalty for free to our tribesmen when they are the ones who are benefiting. Until such a day, it is a struggle for the Mount Kenya block. Again, we get another kingpin who will sell the community like the former ones have. Submit.
Let me just add something on what Gala said. And as much as actually people want to run away from the tribal politics, I want you to look at the tribes as colleges, electoral colleges. Mount Kenya is a big voting block, and they always vote in the same direction. Just like if you go to the US, we have got the red states that always vote the way they are guided by Donald Trump. The same way in Kenyan politics, in Nyanza region where Raila Odinga controls, that's an electoral college that will predominantly vote on Raila's favor. Same to the Kamba people. So as much as we are trying to really hide from this monster called tribe, how can we use it effectively to push the agenda and the narrative of change? So that is the big question. Without looking at Mount Kenya as a tribe and the tribal politics, the negative ethnicity, how can we use these electoral colleges that are now up for grabs for any other candidate who is going to come and who is vetted by me and you in these panels and in other panels, that this is what we present for the Kenyan people as a presidential candidate. So how will we use Mount Kenya and make sure that they remain in the opposition, opposing the government of the day, without Ruto getting a few of them and dismantling the political structure of Mount Kenya, the way he has done in Nyanza and in ODM?
Mzalendo, the people you mentioned, like in the US, where they have Republicans and Democrats, actually, they also support the groups depending on the issues. And that is why I asked, why would Mount Kenya support Gachagua? On what issues? Is he just as a person from Mount Kenya so that Mount Kenya can be in power? But what is the benefit to them? In the US, those who support, it's mostly about social issues that make people choose what side they are going to be on. But in Kenya, we select purely based on tribe, and this tribal leader has nothing that they offer to bring their people other than the presidents, just themselves, as eating. So we should watch them eating. We should be happy that they're eating. When Gachagua was being taken out of power, he told us someone like Kweta and Davadi offered to bring the Luya nation in a basket, 30%. And who is eating? They got themselves and their family positions, just themselves. What did they bring? They brought the Luya nation into government. So what I am asking, and that is why I read something about me being wise so that I am changing myself, not me, but I wanted it to be a self-reflecting moment that I think the civic education that we should be doing between now and whenever, so that we can choose the right person, is talking to as many people as possible, especially in our rural areas, to require from their leaders and ask them, what are you bringing to us if we elect you? If it is Raila, what is he bringing? If it is Gachagua, we say it is Gachagua, what, apart from us winning and being in parliament or being in government, what do we get? We can't just give out that ati tuko na mtu wetu. What kind of nonsense is that? Like, really? What kind of nonsense is that? Ruto is killing us today and we are talking about 2027. Like, how seriously, how can we not be on the streets? Like, how?
With your
question.
permission, Bonnie,
Yes.
Yeah, Charles.
through
Yes,
you, I could say Ashley is good and quick at suggesting actions, and that is how to trigger change. And civic education here is actually a very key way of changing the mindset of Kenyans. And somebody said if they were given 1,000 days to cut a tree, they would spend 999 days sharpening their axe. Then on the 1,000th day, they would cut the tree with just one strike. The axe is those of us who have the ability to interpret things like we are doing now. However, unfortunately, our axe is extremely blunt in the sense that we have the shape of an axe, we have the education, and we have the tools, we have the internet, we have the education. Our parents have toiled. Those poor people in the village toiled to educate us, to get us where we are. However, we have allowed other people, as intelligent as we are, to handle us the way you push a wheelbarrow. You direct it wherever you want using your hands. They have literally handled our brains like that at our level as educated people. Most of us have college degrees, diplomas, we have access to information. But if you listen to the level of psychophancy, even at our own class, within this class of people that I'm talking about, it is horrible. We must change. We must sharpen that axe before we even go to the lower class of people there. We are unable. I look at forums where these big politicians have called the youth to come and support, maybe like a forum that I saw in Machakos 2 days ago, called the Comrades chapter of a certain political party. Then these are university students who have who have interacted with professors, and they are there already just aligning to the traditional way of arranging politics in this Kenya. Who will change this nation? We must change from within our class first before we change others. You cannot change others if you haven't changed yourself. So most of the effort actually needs to be within this category of people who have the education, because I can tell you, we are the most stupid we have the most stupid people in this category, educated, literate, even professors and doctors, but they quickly just get absorbed into the system and focus on how much they can earn for themselves. And of course, we have a very crude version of capitalism where as long as I have, I don't care whether you have or not. So anybody who claims to be clamoring for change, they slowly get hooked by the system. They're given something small, or they get a position, maybe a job, and all of a sudden they are defenders of the system with all the education and the knowledge. There is no honesty amongst ourselves. We know what is right, but we don't want to do it. We see people who look visibly angry, but they are not angry. They are actually just hungry. It's just jobs they are looking for. They're given opportunities, and at some point you wonder, we used to have Ashley. Where did she go? all of a sudden unasikia, oh, alikuwa PA wa a certain politician. So siku hizi, even journalists, you saw the other day another journalist calling from the highest office to challenge an activist on TV. And he's focusing on the issue of, did you call or did you not call the president? Instead of talking about the real issues that are being discussed on that show. So we amongst ourselves in this class that is supposed to drive change, we must have a strategy to change ourselves first. We are so disenfranchised, so disorganized, and that forms a very good ground for these hyenas called politicians to devour us, keep on dividing us and eating us, plus our children. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
By the way,
Chalo. Yes, actually.
no, I'm laughing because of what he said about those. Like I remembered Muhammad Ali, Jichopevu. So I wanted to ask. I was thinking about who would be a very good president, and I kept and thought, okay, we like Okia Omtata, but the kind of leader we need a leader with justo. Someone who is not easily. I don't know whether he would be able to. There is a lot of money involved. I don't know whether he has the strength to be able to push back. And I thought, I don't know anything about this guy called Onyonka, Richard Onyonka. And I want to, if not today, if we can come here and discuss different leaders and who would be most appropriate to be the next president. And let's not talk about Morala Kibaso or whatever. Let us talk about serious people who can come. We don't want someone on training wheels. He can't even manage his own campaign. Let him first figure that out. Let's talk about people who actually can do something. Like if they were asked to step in tomorrow, who would that person be?
Thank you so much, Ashley.
Ashley, when you're looking at that kind of person, he's already coming up with a price tag. You've already put a price tag on him that he should be somebody who is loaded, somebody who we cannot, somebody who is able to carry his own campaign without the people of Kenya funding him.
No.
Or
No.
what do you mean by that?
What do I mean by what? The reason because I mentioned Kibaso?
No, because the criteria that you're looking at is that my vision from what you have said just now is that this politician should not Okia Mtata, no, because he's not very. Does he have charisma? No, not really.
No, it's not about charisma. Let me correct myself.
His campaign.
No, I think you got me wrong. Okia Omtata would fit in a place where it is quiet, or if he had either he was a running mate or he was the person, and then like the way in Kibaki was no charisma, but he had somebody holding him. That Okia Omtata would fit that. But once he gets in there, he has to be able to push back. That is what I said. Push back. Like, because we need these people who have stolen all this money that Kibaso Morala is talking about. We need that money back. They are saying, this lady, Susan Kihika, was saying that we don't want Ruto to do PPPs, or whatever, the PIP or whatever. And then we don't want him to tax us, and we don't want him to take loans. What do we want? We want them to go after the people who have stolen the money and bring it back. That money is enough to build our economy. Those people who have not evaded taxes, if they go after them, and they have not even attempted to go after them. So when I say someone who can push back, we want someone who can stand up to those people without fear and command them. I mean, make it happen. Somebody who will have that. And that's why I don't want anybody that is recommended by Uhuru or Ruto, someone who is recommended by Gachagua, because all these people are people who need to be bringing money back.
Yeah, now you are talking about accountability. A leader who is accountable, a leader who is transparent, a leader who will unite all the 42 tribes of Kenya, a leader who can go among the Luo community, despite them being very, very difficult, and sell his vision, and they agree to vote for him. Now, a leader will go among the Kamba and the Kikuyu. Now, there should be a common interest, a common goal that this leader is actually eyeing. There is a common agenda that should resonate among all the 42 tribes, even Rift Valley tribe. The good part about this country now, if you can look at what the politics that Ruto has driven us into, even in his own backyard, he's facing an opposition. There's opposition in his own backyard. So we have a good opportunity. We have a good opportunity to try and change the politics of our country, and the opportunity is now. But the good question that you ask is, nani ndio huyu kiongozi? Who is this person? If I look at the qualifications that is on your mind, this candidate must come with a political party that resonates well with the people. And even if he doesn't have a political party, he could be supported by other political parties. The person who is coming in my mind a lot of time is Natembea. Natembea is somebody who has got a constituency already supporting him. He can reach out to the Luya community, which is the second biggest voting bloc in the country at the moment. Then the other college vote, which is the Kikuyu tribe, can join hands with people like Ntabea. And now, on the issue of the economy and corruption, then we can have the likes of now Morara Kibasu coming in, the likes of Gen Zs coming in who are disgruntled with the killings that the Ruto government has done. So that is the only path. That is the only path to victory and to have a country of sanity. So they will be joined by issues, but
So Natembea,
the problem is we are only looking for this leader to remove Ruto, but we are not looking at the policy.
that no, what when I'm asking someone like Natembea. I know he was in Uhuru's government, and I know he was involved in the injustices on protesters. So I am hesitant to support him, because once you have been in that government and you are involved, it is so easy for you to go and do that also. So that's why I'm saying we should look at the leader, possible leader, holistically. Then once we identify one, we can congregate around them. We can form a party. We can start supporting them. But we can't just talk. We can't
Now,
talk every day.
I think there's nobody who is perfect, including yourself and myself. We have got some history, and you'll find that nobody will say that this is the Mr. Clean. This is the most. This is the cleanest man who has not been involved in anything in the country. But the thing is that the way the political setup is, this person must be a politician. First off, he must be a politician. He must be somebody of influence. If we get somebody who is so great to come into the political scene, then we would be looking at somebody like PLO Lumumba. Why can't we support PLO Lumumba? you will say, okay, PLO he is somebody who is global, is somebody who articulates his issues very well. But Kenyans can still not even support him for a constituency seat. He has not been involved in any corruption, but they can't still support him. So we
So
have
now that because you know why they can't support him, because in fact I was sitting down yesterday and I was thinking I went to another show and they were like, oh, let us vet. Like, how long are you going to vet? We are not toddlers. We can't vet day in, day out, day in, day out. No wonder they're even just going around their business. They're even emboldened enough to come and say, now we want to change the constitution. That is how inconsequential our yapping is. So we need to become serious, like the way we are saying now. We need to identify somebody and support them and start selling that person to people now. Because even if we remove Ruto now, there is a vacuum. And what we are going to get is someone either worse or like him. So we need to start talking about our leaders. Me, I haven't had anyone tell me about me. I like Richard Onyonka. I don't mind PLO. I don't mind anybody else, but I might not know too much about them. We need to come here and talk about these other people. We know Raila, so we don't need to talk anymore about him. We know Kibaso, we don't need to talk about him. We need to talk about people we don't know until we come to one where we can agree. Let me tell you, there's a lot of people who voted for Raila that didn't really want him. There are people who voted for Ruto that didn't want him. So those are called undecided voters. When you add that to the people who didn't vote, the new generation of Gen Zs, there is a lot of people. So even though all the tribalists got together, we can get those that never voted and bring them to vote with our person handpicked. He doesn't have to be ambitious to want the presidency. We can pick the person up. We can support that person. We can fund that person and put them there. But one thing that they have to have is obedience to the rule of law. Someone who upholds the constitution. Someone who will not waver back or forth and stand by it. I think that should be a minimum. That should be an irreducible minimum. So if Natembeya has not done that or has done that, my problem is that when he gets there, the possibility of him doing it again is high. So we want to be very selective to make sure at least that person at the very top is a person like the way Vile Okia Omtata said, you are my friend, but my constitution is my greater friend. That is the kind of man we need at the highest position for the next dispensation, for us to make, we clean up the mess in our country. We need the best person at the very top.
You see, Okia, people don't know Okia Mtata so well in the political arena, but they know him as somebody who is fighting corruption in the corridors of justice. Now, we need to see Okia Mtata out there in rally. Is he somebody that can, when he calls a meeting like tomorrow at Uhuru Park, Kenyans will show up? Yeah, you know, that kind of person. But that kind of person, the way you say, we have to build the rapport around him. We have to give him that power, and that power is mobilizing the citizens of Kenya who are disgruntled and or who feel that we need change. Yeah, we need change. You know, there are also a good number that want the status quo to remain the same, so that they benefit from the political class. Yeah.
The problem, if we leave the vacuum there for so long, you see, like now the other day, and I hate to even mention this, I saw the Kikuyus in Domberi, and they are reviving what they don't want to be called as the Mungeke. You see, when you leave, then by the time if someone comes up down the road and people have already congregated into other associations, some not so good, then the person will be late. So I think we need to do, even if we get, like, I don't think Mwai Kibaki was that charismatic, but he was president. So if we got someone and then we got people to sell him, someone like Okia or someone near him, with him also in that ticket, I think that would really work. Because when I think about like even the people in Mount Kenya that wants to come and fight Ruto, they are not gonna bring any change to the people. It's just supremacy political battles. That is what I see. I don't see change. I don't see hope. I just see more of the same, just the change of whoever is eating, whose turn it is to eat. And I feel very discouraged. And I wonder, what can we do? How can we come together? You know, some people start telling you, Kulenyu ujeuri wenyu. This suffering is not reserved for the people who voted for Ruto. But we come here and we start, and that's what our politicians want. You know, just nonsense that, well, other countries are moving. We are talking to each other like small children. And years are going off when we should be building our country. We are not. We are stagnated in politics. Anyway, let me not talk much. I maybe let someone else contribute. But I just want us to think about how can we change this equation? How can we turn around this country?
Maybe you can give Chalo some time to answer.
Yeah. I've been wanting to say something. It's good. I like the way you guys want this thing really fixed really quickly. However, I think Ashley, you gave a very nice proposal initially, and that was changing the mind of the voter. And that would change the brand of politics. As long as we are operating within the current brand of politics, we will have to rely on products of the same brand of politics. Some of those people that I have heard their names flying across in your conversation, they have been molded by the current system. How likely is it that you can depend on them to change the country, whereas they are already where they are, courtesy of a rotten upbringing? I feel like it should be the other way around. Civic education, changing the mind of the voter, making them choose differently and demand for answers. Some of them are not very spoiled within the leadership circles. They can be corrected through questioning. However, getting new ones that would entirely change this nation, it would require a mental revolution on the part of the employer, who is the voter. Unless you guys want us to just be there, have a very good person, like we have a lady called Martha Karua, who in many occasions, I know she has her shortcomings as well, but on many occasions, she speaks the right thing. But because she's speaking within that brand of politics that we are talking about, nobody listens to her. The opposing forces are really strong because the brand of politics has not changed. The voter is still thinking the 1995, 2000, 2007, 2013 way. And you all know that we made our biggest mistake in 2012, 2013. That is why we are suffering. The current wave of problems just began after the exit of Kibaki. The mistake was not made in 2022. It was made in 2012. So guys, I think what should really bother us more now is how, in our small way, can we change the thinking of this class of people? And I choose this class, the one that has the ability to access the internet information, read and interpret for themselves, because that would be your biggest tool to go out there and talk to the other people. I would be very hesitant to even talk about personalities currently. It would be too early. I would get a person from them there just for the sake of it. And, there are people who just compete for the sake of competition, but we would wish to compete to win. I submit. But
think, Kialo, you brought a very interesting topic, the internet. How we can use technology to choose the kind of leaders that we want. I mean, there is a lot of ways that we can embrace technology among the Kenyans who want change. And they are on the internet, they are in X, they are on TikTok, they are on YouTube. And this information is reaching Kenyans in each and every corner of the world. And the world is no longer round, it is a flat surface where you can see the person on the other end. So we need to embrace technology so that we get the best leader. I had something on my mind. It's just it is escaping me for a moment. Um, how do we how do we ensure that we have a good leader, just like many countries like Singapore had done so. They were in this kind of situation, and they did something that helped them to project and look forward to building their country. They went out, put an advert on the daily newspaper, and people applied for that job of the president. Then they took a company like PricewaterhouseCoopers and Deloitte to choose the kind of candidate that they wanted. Somebody who would revitalize the economy, create jobs for the country, build infrastructure, and they got a student who was graduating from Harvard, and that is the guy who changed uh, the economy of Singapore. People talk about Singapore like they were in politics. Yes, they've been in this kind of politics for the longest time, but when they came together as a country to choose one person who is going to lead the country, they forgot about the political class. I've just remembered what I wanted to say is that in every political situation, there is a crisis that if we had good politicians, they would capitalize on. You see, when this Kerengai guy was introducing the extension of the presidential term to 7 years, that is something that we should have let these parliamentarians go with it, and they extend their term. But that would be an issue that would be a very very good issue to kick them out in 2027. We need to create a crisis in the country. That is the only way that we can have a good leader emerging within that crisis as a solution. So we either create a constitutional crisis that Kenya is we are really overburdened. There's so many, there's a lot of representation and duplication. Why do we need a women rep in our constitution? We don't need this position. Why do we need nominated MPs and nominated senators? We don't need this position. Why do we even need a parliament? Yet the Senate can do the same thing that parliament is doing. Yeah, well, why do we need this to the 47 the 47 senators can do the work of the 300 and something MPs that they are doing in Parliament. Why do we need this over representation? Then we have the governor's office, we have the deputy, we have ministers in each and every county. This is a burden to the country. Let us. That is a good argument point that will resonate with each and everybody who is not among the beneficiaries in those counties. So that we must create that crisis. Kibaki emerged when there was a crisis, when they wanted to change Section 2A of multi-party democracy. And then when the constitution came, the 2010 promulgation of the constitution of Kenya, there was a crisis and we had to have a constitution. So these are some of the things that must happen so that we can have sanity in our politics. But how do we create that crisis? That is the biggest question, Ashley.
Great points. Now, I know you said we should have let them pass the bill and then in 2027 use it to take them out. Considering how much power we've given Ruto, do you think, even though he lost in 2027, he would agree to actually lose? Just as he has asked the judges to, like even the decisions they made on the housing levy, the decision they made today, what the attorneys are saying is that, like when they did on the housing levy, they didn't give, like the way they give point by point or judge by judge. They just came with an answer, one answer from all the judges. We were not told who was dissenting. We were not told who was for it and why. They just gave one collective answer. And even today, when they gave the order on Gachagua, they jumped some key issues that were raised. They completely ignored them. So if we go to the election, let us just be sure that whoever Ruto wants to be re-elected will be re-elected, including himself, whether he wins or he does not win. If he's killing people, if he's abducting people and killing them, and we are doing nothing, what makes us think that we will be able to do anything if he steals the election, which he will? So if he reaches 2027, you just know it's gone. Because when he goes to the election, he is not going there to lose. If he didn't lose when Uhuru was president, if we want to believe that he rigged the election when he was vice president, how much so when he's president and he's captured every arm of government and he's actually in charge of choosing the chairman of IEBC. That is why I said we need to wake up from our slumber. We are living in denial. We need to look at things as they are and make very, very, very tough decisions. There is something that says in extreme circumstances, we have to take extreme measures. This is one of such circumstances. Now, I want to suggest that in future, if there was ever a referendum, we should have the position of deputy president, an electable position that stands on its own and does not stand with the president, that the president and the vice president each run their own course. And then the last thing is that what we can do, we can engage the international community. I went on Kenya Rebels show some days ago, and I talked about how Ruto doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about Kenyans. It doesn't matter whether you take out your clothes, you shout. Even if you come to the street each day, he will just kill you. Remember, he killed people in their homes. He does not care. People keep saying that they made him fear 25th of June. They didn't make him fear. Why he took any action is because there was a certain conference called Global Peace Initiative or something like that happening at KICC, where he was the keynote speaker, and that person canceled him and told him to first sort his issues out. And when he was told that, that is when he went back and he started making some changes. It wasn't the Gen Zs. It was because of this international body that rejected him. So we have to learn that the only people who are going to help us that we want to disregard is the international community. And when I say that day, and I say that we need to call Biden, or we need to reach out to Biden through his proxies and look for a way to meet with him, engage him somewhere where he comes on air, and we asked him how he's working with Ruto, who is leading the peacekeeping force in Haiti, when Ruto is the same as barbecue, and why we are not treating him the way we treat Kim Jong-un, or how we treat Putin of Russia. That same day, or even the next day, the ambassador of the US called on the Kenyan government about the IEBC. And it did not take 24 hours before they said it was finally constituted. And then the same day again, IMF started saying that they needed to know how the loan, to ask the government to work on something to help the youth get jobs. Now, I saw something else today where Ruto was dropped from a speaker lineup in London African Summit and no reason was given. What I am saying is that Ruto likes to travel. Ruto has a need to be accepted globally. Those are the people who he cares what they think. If we want to disable him, we have to address them. We have to engage them. Instead of going to IMF on a weekend and say that we are doing a demonstration, we need to do that demonstration on a work day. We need to go in the offices and ask to see whoever is in charge of global of Kenya affairs, who issues loans to Kenya. I learned that there is someone who either is East African from Ethiopia who is in charge of IMF. That person may probably be in the pocket of Ruto, and soon they'll be coming to do an audit in Kenya. So instead of engaging them, we need to go to New York and engage them at the very top. That when they come to do that audit in Kenya, that some people, activists, are involved. The LSK is involved in that audit. And then those people from head office are also coming down, because the corruption could be actually be in the leadership of IMF on the ground. Thank you.
Mzalendo, something that could interest us is when that sham public participation was conducted, was it last week, on this Cherargei bill? You know, there was a lot of input that was sent online via email. Mpaka wakasema that via email, their server crashed. I remember that statement.
Yeah.
And if you recall, yes. And if you recall, Gen Z was mobilized on the internet. This is a tool that we must utilize. Of course, not ignoring the suggestions that Ashley is giving, about walking in there and demanding. However, there is a lot of power online. You know, the power of KOT. You remember how KOT would fight battles. You know, some of them would just be childish ego battles with other countries, and we would unite all of a sudden. How then do we tap into that energy, which is already available online, and channel it to the right things? Make people realize that the way you can fight with Nigerians over who is more famous, whether it is Burma Boy or Nameless in Kenya, you can also use that power to drive change in your own country. How can we utilize that platform and mobilize the voice online? Because we are lucky, we are living in a time whereby petitions are received online. You can even petition the US government while seated somewhere in Muranga or in Makueni. You can sign online and say no, and it can be listened to. Then the second thing, how do we make sure that this public participation provision, which I'm seeing the courts playing around with, sometimes it's admissible, sometimes it's not admissible. You know, there is no clear threshold as to what really public participation is. And in Kenya, public participation is now being interpreted as you are given a chance to speak. Yani, it is one way. You can tell us what you want, but there's no provision somewhere that we must react to it the way you want. You can tell us, I don't want it, and then we still give it to you. Then you go to court, claim that your opinion was not listened to. Then the courts tell you your opinion was listened to merely because you were given a chance to speak. But the essence of public participation should be, when I speak to you, do you listen? Because that is what matters. When I say I don't want it, it shouldn't stop at, you gave me a chance to say I don't want it. It should stop at the point where you heard that I didn't want it and you didn't give it to me. That is how public participation ideally should be. So how can we then make sure that the voices that arise online, whether through petitions, whether through public participation around bills that we want to object, changes that we want to make, that feedback is listened to and acted upon. I think our creativity should be more around that area. I'm not entirely saying that this is what we should focus on. However, there are other options that we can also combine with this. And this is a cost-effective way, because one limitation we have is the challenge of funds. We don't have money like our enemies have. We don't have the privilege of stealing money from somewhere and come to dish out to our supporters. We need to connect with them emotionally and drive sense in their heads. So any creativity amongst us must be strongly leaning towards the use of technology. And that is where the world is headed. Let me not overemphasize that.
Thank you, Kialo. I mean, if indeed Gachagua team and of lawyers had emphasized on in Parliament that they have got videos from TikTok or from the X platform where people had participated in a public participation of the process and played it in Parliament, it would have had an impact. If they would have jammed the broadcast system in Parliament with those videos for hours and hours, people deliberating on Gachagua and the issue. So I agree. There
Actually,
is
Mzalendo, and let me just interfere a bit kindly. If you remember, the best example of how public participation is not very clear and is being taken as a formality in the Kenyan setup. The best example is the Finance Bill 2024. There was a lot of public participation done across private citizens, corporates, organizations, and over 99% of those people who participated said, we don't want this thing. But it did not take public participation for the president to reject the bill. It took Gen Z demos. Actually, yeah, all that participation was just useless until the very last minute when they were about to pass it. So when the Gen Z stormed Parliament, and even the president said, I have listened. He didn't listen to our public participation. He listened to those voices in the street.
That is why when we began this show, I told you Gachagua had got power, had got the political power to stop that process, and he didn't use it. He had the power to mobilize his community and those who support him to stop the process, and he didn't use it. That was the time he still has got a chance. If the Supreme Court agrees to listen to his case, he still has got a chance. He still has got a chance because he has got the political will of the constituency that support him and
Hello?
the process. Yeah.
I really want to emphasize something, and I hope I'm not trying to downplay what the Gen Z did. Whatever they did had an effect, but it did not have an effect on Ruto. It had an effect on the international community. So I know you just repeated that Gen Zs are the ones who made Ruto change, but he would not have changed. On the 26th of June, the Global Peace Leadership Conference cancels Ruto's opening ceremony. It says at least 2 international conferences which President Ruto was to attend have been affected. Imagine, even after the 25th, he was ready to go and give a keynote speech on peace at the KICC. And it took that person who was in that, there were international community, I'm trying to look where to read, it was going to be held. The conference was to take place at the Radisson Blue Hotel in Nairobi Upper Hill, was expected to draw significant international attention with key global leaders and dignitaries scheduled to attend. However, the organizers announced President William Ruto will not be attending the conference as initially planned. He didn't cancel. They canceled him. They said, the GPLC statement underscores the importance of addressing the root causes of unrest, calling the nation for national healing and unity. We mourn those who died, pray for a full recovery for those who are injured, and hope for healing for this nation so that it can find a way forward towards a future that benefits all its people, the statement said. They say I'm trying to look where it said they told the president to not come. It says the unrest began. I'm trying to look for that place where it said that they asked him to stay home and solve the problems. Let me go. I'm looking for it, but I'm trying to tell you guys that the reason Ruto caved did not cave because of the Gen Z. He caved because of this particular group, which cancelled him. And they told him to go and first fix his problems. And that was on the 26th of June.
Actually, the Gen Z helped in the sense that without them,
this group would not have reacted.
That the international community wouldn't have stopped him from attending.
So I think we don't need to disregard them, but we also don't need to think that Ruto fears them. And that is why I said, well, we are doing everything else. I think we have to realize, even though that's why Ruto is taking us and killing us, he does not care what the Kenyans think about him. So he will be pressured. But when he's pressured by outside forces, he will cave in. That is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, in agreement with you, Ashley. And my point was around the whole story about public participation. Does it really work in Kenya? Because prior to that day, public participation had been conducted nationwide, and everyone had said no to the finance bill. So had there not been a Gen Z activity, I don't think that thing would have been dropped.
You know, the other thing that I know the question you're asking, and I think Zalendo should look for it, on this housing levy bill, the lower court had stopped something about the public participation, but the upper court or the Supreme Court dismissed something and said that it doesn't really matter what public participation says. Can you look for that clip, Mzalendo, please? I don't want to paraphrase it. It's very important. And I think at this point, it's going to answer his question. And he said, the judge said that they need to go back and make it in a way where it matters. Because according to the Supreme Court, at this point, it really doesn't matter. I'm not sure what they said, but I think they will answer what question you're asking so we can see how it can matter going forward.
Yeah.
All right. I think because I wanted to just make a humble request that I drop off. We can in the next conversation have remember to pick it up from here, at least on this particular point.
Kialo, before you drop off, we are just winding up. I needed you to give us your closing submission. Ashley, I think we'll pick up this conversation tomorrow, same time. I will have the video ready and on the topic of public participation, even as we look forward for a better country. I need you guys to just give your final submission, Kialo, and please make sure that you leave us your contact on the private chat, so that next time when we have a show like this one, we are able to notify you in time, or if you are available. Thank you for participating, though. Just give us your submission.
All right. May I go first?
Yeah. Go first.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. It's been a really fruitful conversation today and tonight rather, and I feel like this is really stimulating to our brains because it makes us realize that we have a nation at stake that we have to quickly recover from destruction. We've had a wide conversation looking at where we are in reality versus where we would wish to be. And I like the way it has ended in terms of us converging at finding a solution. So my call is we need to find ways of bringing more people into this conversation. You know, it's an open conversation. I must admit, it's my first time here, by the way. I just clicked on the link and joined. I didn't know that I was going to be given such a big chance to contribute. So I think I would wish to go out there and bring more people, continue talking about change to my folks, and bring them into this at this table where we can talk about the future of our nation. Thanks a lot, gent and lady.
Yes, Diallo. Don't forget, just go on the private chat and leave us your contact. We'll give you more information about Africa 24 and where we want to be in the next 1 year or two. Ashley.
Thank you, Charlo, for blessing us with your presence and your submissions. Thank you, Mzalendo, and everyone else who was listening or was part of the panel. My closing remark is that the greater the diversity, the greater the perfection. We are greater together, and when we hold hands and work together, we make our country better. Let us always remember that. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Ashley. And viewers, we come to a close of yet another wonderful uh, session of Africa 24. And I hope you have enjoyed the submissions of these wonderful people who are based in Kenya and want change in our country. We were joined in by many people: Paul Kivadi, Charles Sekena, Liz Mbai, Bukayo Yolo, Man Edu Angila, DGG, Nelson Ogema, Ben Maundu, and many others who are watching from various platforms. Those who are in Mutembei, our sister's channel, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope that you'll make the next step to subscribe to Africa 24 so that we can have these wonderful shows together. Those in the comment section, GK Karambia, John Kuria, asante sana for being part of this show. Amanda Harrison, asante sana for being part of Africa. I will put some of your comments there. Nobody trusted the bench, but they forced themselves in Gachagua case to give him injustice. Yes, that is what each and every member of this panel was saying, that nobody trusts. Ben Maundu, what are you saying? Ben Maundu said, Gachagua ni mwizi, tena akona roho mbaya, tena ni mselfish sana, apeleke mwizi selfish. Wow. Yes, we agree that yeye ni mwizi, lakini anafaa kupelekwa kotini ama ashtakiwe, ama akistakiwa na uwizi anafaa kujitetea. Hivyo ndio tunasema hapa Afrika. Yes, kama una accuse mtu ni mwizi, peleke kotini, mkamate na umpatie nafasi ya kujitetea. Hata wewe ungekuwa umeshikwa na kuku ya mtu, ungeambiwa utajitetea ukiwa pande gani? So ni vyema mtu apatiwe nafasi. Gypsy Corner, our moderator on the comment section. Gypsy, we are talking about the wrong figure. It should be Ruto. Why do Kenyans think that a leader has to come from one region? You blame Gachagua about Mount Kenya, but some people are wrapped in at the mountain. Yes, Gypsy Corner. We all come from a tribe. If you talk to the people in the Luo, they follow Raila Odinga. If you go to Kambani, Wiper is dominating in that particular region. And the rest of us are left to scramble for any particular party that will sell their agenda, or ule mtu ataonekana kuwa mjasiri ndio tutamchagua. Guys, thank you very much. Here in Virginia, it is 8 p.m. in Virginia. I know Kenya, it is almost 2 a.m. and guys, good morning. Make sure that tomorrow we are having a very, very big show. We are going to discuss each and every topic that has happened in the week and the way forward for the people of Kenya. Hatutawaacha mataani, tuta make sure that tumeshikana na tukakuwa na nchi mzuri, nchi yenye uzalendo na tukiweka nchi yetu mbele. Don't forget to also watch some of our shows that are coming up,
Join us every Friday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a captivating journey into the world of love, relationships, and romance, presented by the dynamic trio Maggie Knox, MC Jesse, and Annie Waweru. Bed of Roses promises to be your weekly dose of heartwarming stories, insightful discussions, and expert advice on matters of the heart. Whether you're single, in a relationship, or simply love a good love story, this is the show for you. Don't miss out on the chance to unwind and indulge in the joys and challenges of love, all brought to you by our talented hosts. Tune into Africa 24 every Friday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. and let us guide you through the enchanting world of Bed of Roses. Subscribe now and mark your calendars. You don't want to miss this. See you there.